Welcome back to MapCrow, the RPG art show. My name is Kyle, and today we are building better kobolds. This video is brought to you by the generous sponsorship of Only Crits, but more on them a little bit later. Now, at the time of this recording, it has been a minute since we've done one of these, so let's review the rules. Building better monsters is just an alliterative title, that is it. I'm not trying to suggest that my ideas are actually any better than anyone else's. I just like alliteration and being creative. But I'm gonna put my cards on the table here. I've never really liked kobolds. I feel like there is just too many little devious trickster minions that can be killed at low levels in Dungeons and Dragons in general, and there's nothing really unique that distinguishes kobolds from goblins, except for their connection to dragons, which I don't find particularly compelling. And this is probably due to the fact that kobolds and elves and gnomes and dwarves and goblins were all kind of words that were used interchangeably in all of these old stories. But when the founders of our hobby were coming up with the monster manual, they decided to change each and every iteration of the same basic idea into its own scientific category of species, for better or worse. Now, there is some scholarship that points to the idea of an extremely localized version of kobold stories that refers to them as drakes, and associated with fire, which is probably where we find our inspiration for our common modern Dungeons and Dragons interpretation of kobolds. Something else that's interesting about the name kobold, and I'm just going to read directly from Wikipedia here, the name of the element cobalt comes from the creature's name because medieval miners blamed the sprite for the poisonous and troublesome nature of typical arsenical ores of this metal, which polluted the other mined elements. So as such, I am definitely using a wash coat of cobalt blue in this painting. But I also get a lot of inspiration from this idea of kobolds harassing miners and spitting out poisonous gas. I kind of start to form this image in my head of the scenario. First, some lanterns or spare tools start to go missing, and then one of the miners is found to have asphyxiated in their sleep. And when all the miners go back down to resume their work, there were all these holes and tunnels that go deeper than anything they've ever seen before. And they hear in these tiny tunnels the distant echo of metal against stone. They're digging something. They're building something. What the hell are they building down there? This video is brought to you by Only Crits. Only Crits is your one-stop shop for all your dice needs. They have sharp-edged dice, they have metal dice, they have hollow dice, they have stone dice, which would be particularly good if you're running for creepy little kobolds in a mine. They also have cases and trays, and they give away a free adventure with every purchase. Head on over to Only Crits using the link in the description below and use code CROW at checkout to receive 10% off your purchase. You'll get your gorgeous gaming accessories for a little bit cheaper, and it will really help out the channel too. Thank you, Only Crits, for sponsoring this video. Nobody knows who, if anyone, made the first kobold. Maybe it was even the pure cruelty of chance that combined the necessary components to make one. An iron spike through some mud filled with dragon bone. Molten fool's gold for blood. Lamplights for eyes. And poison gas for breath. Nobody knows who built the first kobold. But one thing's for sure. The kobolds know how to make more of themselves down in the mines. There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found. So it does sound a little bit like Frosty the Snowman, but we'll just pretend it's creepy. I think one of the other things that I'm trying to do with this design is to avoid the trope of just having another subterranean class of evil humanoids that worship something bad. I mean, regular humans can live underground and worship bad things. You know, it's not really adding any new component or flavor to the game as far as I'm concerned. So I'm trying to press on this idea that these kobolds are kind of animate dirt, these homunculi that are doing the bidding of some, malign dragon spirit. They don't need to eat, they don't need to sleep, they just dig. They dig for bones, and they turn those bones into more kobolds. Except sometimes they need more nails. And what makes strong nails? The ash of bones. Your bones. And they keep digging and multiplying in the sunless realm below our very feet. And they'll never stop. They'll never stop digging and searching for remains. Searching for her remains. And when they found them all and collected them all into one place, a new age will begin then. You can feel it, can't you? Feel it in your bones. They left me alive, you see. Because they need me. They need me to read. They can't do that. That's why they need me. The oldest ones, the oldest scrolls, the oldest tablets, they tell of where they buried her. Anyways, you get the basic gist of it. And if we think of them as these artificial beings, we can really play around with the stuff that we can do to add variety to these enemies. Maybe once they've collected enough of the remains of whatever they're collecting, they become more creative with how they use skeletons. I feel like this direction is going to do a good job both kind of indexing the fears of, medieval miners, but also being an interesting challenge for player characters. I also feel it constructs a fairly compelling reason why you would need to go stop this problem as soon as it starts. And maybe the way to deal with this isn't necessarily to just smash all the kobolds, but to find their ossuary box that they keep the remains of this creature in. If you could take that away from them and properly dispose of it by reburying it in consecrated ground, that's what actually solves your kobold problem. I like this. I think that's a good way to kind of bring out this folkloric nature of the kobold while still giving your, 5e players something to smash and cast big spells at. It feels like every time there's a new season of The Witcher or something like that, people start asking well, how do I make my game of Dungeons & Dragons feel more like The Witcher? Well, you turn every monster fight into an exorcism that also has a monster fight in the middle of it. So yeah, you could introduce these kobolds into a game in any number of ways, kind of a similar escalating problems in the mind situation that we were discussing earlier, or maybe somebody's digging up all of these graves and stealing the bones out of the caskets. Start small and mundane, maybe even seeding this into the story earlier with all of these rumors that they're hearing as they're traveling about the town, and then slowly escalating up from there until you have kind of this whole full-blown subterranean invasion going on. In any case, I think that just about does it for this episode. Hey, by the way, I have started streaming every once in a while on this YouTube channel, and those are going into their own playlists, so be sure to check that out as well if you want kind of longer form, kind of more chill out time than these focused 10-minute episodes. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see me continue this series, please like and subscribe. And thanks again to Only Crits for sponsoring this video. I don't know what my next video is going to be about, but maybe I will be able to figure that out as soon as I figure out what they're building down there. Until next time, my friends, farewell.